a collection of large diesel and turbojet engine launches, tanks, trucks, locomotives. Enjoy the show. This first video shows the launch of the King Tiger. It is powered by a Maybach V12 gasoline engine with a working displacement of 23 liters and 700 horsepower. If anyone knows the exact principle of its startup and what they spin in the beginning, I'd be happy to read it in the comments below the video.
Die wordt nu gestart, want het is 2 minuten voor alle 4 en dan komt het dus. The starting of the Leopard 1, which was involved in military action in Yugoslavia. At the moment, it is a museum item, which is maintained by volunteers. It has a 34.7-liter multi-fuel 10-cylinder engine with 819 horsepower. Example of the starting Stug 3. It has again an engine from a Maybach. It is a gasoline V12 with a displacement of almost 12 liters and an output of 300 horsepower.
Turbine engine starting up. This thing uses a gas turbine engine. Damn.
You never guessed that, right?
No. It's like an aircraft. Startup of an M1A2 Abrams at New York Air Show. It has an AVCO Lycoming AGT 1500 gas turbine engine and a single unit with an automatic hydro-mechanical transmission. The engine capacity is approximately 1500 horsepower. Startup of a Leopard 2A7. It has an MTU multi-fuel engine with a V12, 1,500 horsepower and 4,700 Nm of torque. This video shows the launch of the Panther tank. It has the same engine as the King Tiger. It is a gasoline V12 made by Maybach with 690 horsepower. Next two scenes will be about Leopards. Different modifications than were in the video before, but their engines are the same. The video shows diesel locomotive TE-10M, Soviet mainline cargo diesel locomotive with a sectional power of 3,000 horsepower, built by Voroshilovgrad Locomotive Plant from 1978 to 1990. On the video, you can see the condition in which the locomotive is operating. This happens when the turbo on the engine fails and starts throwing oil into the exhaust. Then it burns out from time to time.
Purchased in December 1991 by the Class 50 Society 50049, was in working order when withdrawn. The Loco had a fair amount of work done at Lara by Society volunteers, later known as Project Defiance, before moving to Allied Steel and Wire at Cardiff for further work. After the initial restoration was concluded, a home for the locomotive was found at the West Somerset Railroad. It is equipped with a 16-cylinder diesel engine with a capacity of 246 liters, 2,800 horsepower, cold start. This video shows an example of the operation of diesel locomotive TE-10M. This time, it is a 3-section version. Each section has a capacity of 3,000 horsepower. This locomotive was one of the most mass-produced locomotives in the post-Soviet space, so don't be surprised by its frequent appearance. Each section is designed to pull 600 tons, so the load on the locomotive is now almost maximum. The GE U-23B was a 2250 horsepower diesel-electric locomotive built by GE Transportation from 1968 to 1977. It was one of the most successful models of the Universal Series, with 481 units built, including 16 exported to Peru. Diesel Locomotive 2 TE-10V is going to storm the boom gorge. The diesel locomotive will have to overcome a rise of 1,200 meters to 1,600 meters above sea level. 2 TE-10V, 2-section, Soviet mainline freight diesel locomotive. The length of the gorge is about 30 kilometers. At an altitude of 1,200 to 1,600 meters at sea level, a railway line connecting Bishkek and Balikchi runs into the boom gorge. It was built in 1978 and has a length of 180 kilometers. The Class 66 is a type of 6-axle diesel-electric freight locomotive developed in part from the Class 59 for use on the railways of the UK. Since its introduction, the class has been successful and has been sold to British and other European railway companies. The locomotive is equipped with a V12 diesel engine, 3,200 horsepower. TEP-70 is a 6-axle mainline passenger diesel locomotive with AC-DC electric transmission, produced in the USSR. It is equipped with two 16-cylinder diesel engines with 2,000 horsepower each. Maximum speed is 160 kilometers. Cold start plus bonus video from inside the engine compartment. The first thing you hear is the operation of the oil pump. As a reminder, each section has a 3,000 horsepower diesel engine. Like I said, TE10M will be a frequent guest. In this video, the startup process from the beginning to the end. Also video from inside. This M18 Hellcat is a tank destroyer, used by the United States Army in World War II and the Korean War. It is equipped with 9-cylinder air-cooled radial aircraft engines built by the Wright Aeronautical. These engines had a displacement of about 975 cubic inches and a power rating of 300 to 450 horsepower. The video was taken during the Tanks in Town 2023, the famous gathering of World War II tanks in Belgium, commemorating the liberation of the city of Mons in 1944. Tanks transported to Ukraine from Crimea after its occupation by Russia. First launch in 15 years. The video is a T-64 tank, a Soviet medium tank adopted into service in 1966 by the USSR Army. Developed in 1960 to 67 in Kharkiv, my hometown, it was mass-produced in 1963 to 69. During this time, 1,192 vehicles were built. As a power plant used a 2-stroke twin-shaft diesel engine, 5 TDF, 15 liters. Engine power was 700 horsepower. The Centurion was the primary British Army main battle tank of the post-World War II period. Development of the Centurion began in 1943 with manufacture beginning in January of 1945. Powered by a Rolls-Royce Meteor engine displacement 27 liters. With the introduction of the Meteor engine and the Cromwell, originally intended for the 340 horsepower Liberty, the boost to 550 horsepower gave the vehicle exceptional mobility and speed. The Kampfpanzer Leopard is a main battle tank designed by Porsche and manufactured by Krauss Maffei in West Germany, first entering service in 1965. With full-scale production starting in 1965, in total, 6,485 Leopard tanks have been built. The tank is powered by a supercharged diesel engine that develops approximately 610 kilowatts, that's 820 horsepower, at 2,200 RPMs. This video shows the Rolls-Royce Meteor engine is separate from the tank. Development started with the use of recovered Merlin engine parts from crashed aircraft. The major change for tank use was to reverse the direction of engine rotation. Engine displacement, 27 liters, 550 horsepower. Another video of the M18 Hellcat. Production of M18 Hellcats ran from July 1943 until October 1944. Original plans called for a total of 8,986 M18s to be supplied. This Soviet diesel locomotive is called TE-10. The power of the 10-cylinder diesel engine is 3,000 horsepower. It was produced from the early 70s to the late 90s. The video shows the diesel starting up. The fire appears due to the age of the diesel and the accumulation of oil in the turbine and exhaust pipe. This video also shows a diesel locomotive of the same series, with the same motor. This is what a standard Soviet diesel locomotive startup looks like. Environmental regulations have left this video. On the video is the same Soviet diesel locomotive TE-10 as in the first two videos. It was produced on a huge scale, so it is a frequent resident of railroads in post-Soviet countries and their neighbors. In the video, you can see the same picture, burning oil from the turbine. The British Rail Class 20, otherwise known as an English Electric Type 1, is a class of diesel-electric locomotive. It is powered by an inline 8-cylinder diesel engine, producing about 1,800 horsepower. Each cylinder has a capacity of 15.4 liters. The video shows a cold winter startup. Another video of the TE-10 pulling cargo railcars. By the way, I would like to note that parts of the components, including engines, were manufactured in my hometown. Another British Rail Class 20 cold start video. Until 1968, a total of 220 of them were produced. They were still transporting cargo and passengers. The SD-45 is a 6-axle diesel-electric locomotive class built by General Motors, Electric Motive Division, between 1965 and 1971. It has a 20-cylinder engine generating 3,600 horsepower. As of 2023, most SD-45s have been retired, scrapped, or rebuilt to SD-40-2 standards. The video shows a 4-section version of the 2 TE-10 diesel locomotive. Each section has a power of 3,000 horsepower. In total, 4 sections give 12,000 horsepower. Diesel consumption is 5 gallons per hour per section at idle. Fuel consumption under load is dangerous to even mention. The fuel reserve is 1,500 gallons. The EMD SD35 is a model of 6-axle diesel-electric locomotive built by General Motors' Electromotive Division between June 1964 and January 1966. Power was provided by a 16-cylinder engine which generated 2,500 horsepower. A 3,000-gallon fuel tank was used on this unit. First cold start after years. The GE U-23B was a 2250 horsepower diesel-electric locomotive built by GE Transportation from 1968 to 1977, featuring a 12-cylinder FDL engine producing 2,250 horsepower. Not many U-23Bs still exist, but a few short-line and regional railroads still use them in everyday service. Cold start of the 3TE10U. Again, sounds of 10 cylinders and 3,000 horsepower. The British Rail Class 37 is a diesel-electric locomotive. In total, the 309 locomotives produced from 1960 to 1965. The maximum speed of the locomotive was 140 kilometers per hour. Output was 1,750 horsepower.
Listen to the wonderful sound of this Continental radial engine. 9 cylinders, 15.9 liter, about 450 horsepower. The featured tank is a Sherman M4A1 E8 HVSS 76mm that was restored in Bastogne by the team of the War Heritage Institute. It was seen during Tanks in Town 2017 in Glen, Belgium. Cold start of the T-72 tank. The engine is a 4-stroke multi-fuel diesel engine B46 with a maximum output of 780 horsepower. This particular Soviet IS-3 heavy tank was part of a monument until a year ago when Ukrainian separatists managed to restart it and take it for themselves. Somehow it ended up at the museum about 6 months ago. However, since the Ukrainian government has regained control of the town it came from, it will be returning to its former role as a monument soon. Manufactured in 1946, and as I understand is nearly completely original, the IS-3 was equipped with a V-shaped 12-cylinder, 4-stroke, liquid-cooled diesel engine model B11 IS-3, which developed 520 horsepower. Starting up the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum's Leopard tank. Leopard 1 is equipped with MTU MB 838 CAM 500 10-cylinder, 37.4-liter multi-fuel engine with 830 horsepower.
Hey man, that's the plan.
Cold launch of the Panther tank. Last time on the other video, it was a manual starter. Here, everything happens automatically. Who can tell me, is it just a modification of the Panther from the tank of the factory, or is it already the handiwork of those who restored it? The Panther has a V12 cylinder, carbureted, liquid-cooled Maybach HL230P30, engine power of 700 horsepower. The tank is equipped with a gas turbine 3-cylinder GTD 1000 TF engine. The maximum engine power is 1100 horsepower with a maximum specific fuel consumption of 60 gallons per hour. Hourly fuel consumption at low gas mode is not more than 18 liters. Another episode with a cold start of the Leopard Tank 1. The power unit used was a 2-stroke, 2-shaft PDP diesel engine 5 TDF. The engine capacity was 700 horsepower.
Thanks again for watching, and have a great week.